Good.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into this edition of Home Turf Sports Podcast. This is going to be the Week 2 high school football preview show. We'll get right into it. We'll keep this one today short and sweet. So we're going to hop right into the games this week, and I'll let my co-host Devin take over. He's got the list of games that we'll be going through. So with that being said, Devin, I'm going to turn it over to you. What's our first game we got?
Man, we got some big games this week. We got a big game of the week just in the Florence area. But we'll get into some of the local games that we'll be at or keeping up with. We'll go off for the first one. We got Marlboro County, which you'll be at, hosting the Great Collegiate. Sherrod hosts Conway Tigers. Dillon hosts Wilson. Hartshaw hosts Camden. McBee hosts Ladder this week. Seafield versus Lee Central. Central versus Lamar. Darlington at Rudolph Elgin. West Lawrence is at Marion. And then across the border, we got Scotland hosting Ashley and Richmond hosting Roseville. We'll get in right into it with the Marlboro game, and then we'll get into our game of the week toward the end. How do you think Marlboro bounces back from the second half of last week's game against Sherrod to try to pull out a big statement win? I hope to win for really the state if they can pull this one out.
Yeah, I look for them to be just fine. Just thinking back on that game, and I was telling my radio co-host on the broadcast that it just looked like they got complacent. They got a lead, and they just decided, hey, we're just going to run the ball, try to eat up clock and get out of this thing with limited injuries. But it almost got to where Sherrod just decided, hey, we're going to stack the box, we're going to stop and run and see if we can do something different. And Marlboro was really reluctant to change up anything. I think they threw 2 passes in the second half, and one ended up being a fumble. The quarterback scrambling to his left and trying to throw the ball, but he was hit as he threw it, and I think Sherrod ended up recovering that. But the one pass he did complete was a big one. It was a 3rd down completion on that last drive where Marlboro scored a touchdown and pushed them back up 10. But I think their offense will be just fine. I'm anxious to see how the defense holds up against Great Collegiate. I really don't know much about them. I know they lost their first game, but that was to a 5A team down in James Island. They had a bye this past week. So I'm anxious to see what type of caliber players they got. I know they do have a former NFL player's son on the team, and Michael Bullware from Spring Valley. Him and his brother Peter both played in the NFL. They both played at Spring Valley and also both played at Florida State. But, I think Michael's son is the one on the team. They got great genes. I think his daughter is also the number 1 ranked softball player in the country. She's a shortstop. I was reading where she will be visiting South Carolina this coming weekend for softball. So, they got talent definitely over there. Win or lose, depending on how you play this game, this can give Marlboro a lot of momentum. And if they would somehow pull this thing out against a team that, probably definitely going to be favored, and most people outsiders looking in, not in the Marlboro locker room, they don't think they can beat anybody. But I think this is a big statement game, man. Just not for this area, but for the state. If Marlboro pulls out a win, it can probably open some eyes.
Yeah, man. As long as Marlboro's defense plays like that, they did last week, I kind of look for them to hold their own in them. Speaking of defense, we didn't get into one of the players that we found out had a good game. You said Monjay McCoy had 12 tackles, 10 solos, and I think he had 2 TFLs.
Yeah.
Which is, man, that's really good for a single-handed player, especially in this area. I mean, getting it done. which he is a big kid. I mean, his brother played with me back in high school, and they ain't nowhere near the same size. So he must have got the good genes out of that. But man, it's gonna be. I think Mark. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a battle of the trenches. I think in Marlboro can line up in that wing tee, and I think they get the running back this week in Ray Stone. Correct?
I'm not sure. I haven't really got any confirmation on that. I knew they were hoping, but I don't think this is a position they're going to force him back because it's early in the season. I really think they just hope to have him back before region play 100% healthy. So if he's not 100%, I really don't look for him to be out there. So if he's out there, he's going to be pretty close to 100.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets back. I mean, you don't ever want nobody sitting out injuries in big games like this. But yeah, I think Marlboro and Gray, they both gonna match up athlete for athlete at every position because Gray's probably got some big guys on that Columbia area. They got a lot to pull from, and if they need a player, they go get them in the off season. So hopefully, I like Marlboro in this game. Just from what I seen last week, and if they can move the ball down the field on Gray's defense a few times and maybe get the ball and go ahead and score. I mean, they're gonna be at home. They gonna have the crowd with them. They gonna have the band. So I mean. There ain't really nothing holding them back. There'll be a big win for Corey Johnson if they can get the win here. I look to see them pull this one out in the end. It's always everybody versus charter schools, but I mean Gray's gonna have a long ride coming here off that L they had 2 weeks ago because they had a bye last week. But hopefully, Trey Blakeney can play good and they can run that wing tee, and hopefully I can come out with a win tomorrow night down there.
Yeah, I really think that he's going to have probably his best game to this point, throwing the ball, Devin. I don't think that we would just be able to line up and just consistently run the ball. I think we'll get our fair share of big runs, but that's going to be tough over there. I think you're going to have to be a little more balanced on offense this week. We only passed the ball. I think we were 5 for 9 last week. I think he's going to have to throw the ball closer to 15, 16 times this week, just to keep them honest and kind of open up that running game. So I think the running game can do damage, but I just think we'll have to pass the ball a little better this week or a little more. Even if you don't hit some of the deep passes down the field, you still got to take the shots just so they can't stack the box against you, kind of like Sherrod was doing last week. So I look for us to try to get the passing game going a little early to get them in a rhythm. And I think if that happens, I think Blakeney, Haley, some of those guys, Krishan Smith, 14, I really think they can do some damage if we hit some passing plays early and back Gray up off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so I think we got a mutual here. We both just gonna take Marlboro in this game. Is what I got. What I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Marlboro. I know I'm betting with my heart here, but they really look good, man. And like I said, I don't know a whole lot about Gray other than they took a loss the first week. That was to a big school, but all things even, I know Marlboro's got the athletes to line up with them. If we can hold up on the lines of scrimmage, I think Marlboro pulls this one out. I think something like 26-20.
Yeah, see, I ain't really I ain't have a score in mind, but I look for this game to stay under the 20s. From what the defense I seen last week for Marlboro County, if they can get the push they got from those defensive guys and have everybody sitting back and just waiting for the pass, because I mean their front three guys can stop the run easily by themselves. But I don't got a score for this game, but I look for this game to be under 45. Like I'll play the under. But we can get into the next game. I'll let you start off with your piece. Sherrod will host Conway Tigers. Conway Tigers 0-2. Coming to Sherrod.
Oh man, I'm gonna get it off my chest to start with. Give me the Braves in this one. Conway, I think Conway's gonna be a little down. Even though our bigger school, man, draw matches up well with what Conway likes to do. I think Pool's gonna have the guys ready. I think they're gonna be flying high, even though they took a loss last week. Their second half, man, they really, I'm not gonna say dominated, but they held their own pretty well last week. And I just think that Pool's gonna have those guys ready to go. I think Cade Thomas probably learned from that game last week. He's definitely not gonna see a defensive front like he did last week. This week, I think he hit for some big plays in the passing game, man. I think Nick Gordon has a really big night. He might be pushing $150 total offense. So I'm going with the Braves. I would say take the Braves by 10.
Braves by 10. Okay, that ain't bad. Well, I'll never pick a Tiger unless it's LSU or Clemson again. But I'll take Sherrod this one. I found out that Sherrod does running back is out until reason play for ankle injury from last week. But I think they have a few more key players on offense that can get it done in the passing game. And I hope Nick can have a big game. I hope their offensive line really can battle back from last week because, like you said, they ain't gonna play no defensive front for the rest of the year. Like they seen the other night, especially 6'3" and 6'4", 250 guys, what they were seeing. But I know Wilson's is 0-2 will be coming to Sherrod. I mean, the coach, I feel like the coach right now, I mean, their coach is on the hot seat, man. But he's got something to prove, but I hope Coach Poole can get it done. I'm going to go with you, too. I like Sherrod by 10 on this one, but yeah, I look for those guys to get going because it's time for their schedule from now on out, except for a few weeks from River Bluff. I look for those guys. They're all 90% favorites in all of those games. So, yeah, give me Sherrod. I say plus 14.
I do look, and I have no inside information on this. Expect Nick Gordon to line up in different positions this week. I don't think that we can just split him out wide and just say, hey, we're going to throw the ball to him. I look for him to get him involved in the running game maybe some. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it from Charles backup running backs after Juice went out last week. So I look for Nick Gordon to get more involved in that, kind of like South Florence will do Jaden Sellers some last year. Just keep an eye out on that, and if it happens, you heard it here first. But I know Poole's a smart guy, and I really think he'll get Nick Gordon involved in different ways than just splitting him out wide and throwing the ball to him.
Guys, just so you know, if you're watching, this is all opinion based. We don't like to make nobody mad here. This is what we think, and if you got, I know you got your opinion. So if you agree with us, hey, you agree with us. If not, hey, I mean, it's screw those guys. But we're just two guys here talking sports, man. But we'll move on to the next one. I think we both agree. Was going to agree on this one too. Dylan will host the Wilson Tigers.
Yeah, I don't think there's really going to be a whole lot to talk about here. I really don't think this game's close. It may be for a quarter. I think Wilson might get an early score, but after that, I look for Dylan to put the clamps down, man, and our quarterback, Sam Fong, I think that's what his name was. He fresh off his first D1 offer, throwing over 3 bills in the first half last week. I look for him to have another really good game, man. Wilson's always got athletes, but usually they struggle up front, and I really think Dylan is going to be able to take advantage of that. Probably on both sides of the ball. If they can give him time to throw, Zay Robson has a big game this week as usual, and I think Dylan puts up another 30 spot this week.
What's the under you think the quarterback comes out at halftime?
I think he plays 3 quarters this week.
3 quarters, okay. Y'all heard it, fellas. He's taking 3 quarters this week. I look for him to play. You're probably about right. They're going to probably get another young guy in there. Well, that quarterback's a young guy, too. He still got 3 more years because he is only a freshman.
If you're a quarterback at Dillon, you better be looking to transfer somewhere else because you ain't going to play for the next 3 years.
Yep, especially if you're an underclassman because I don't see the way I seen last year in the spring game. I don't see nobody outbeating him for a spot the way he can flip the ball. But yeah, I like Dillon in this. I say plus 20. I think Dillon can cover by 20 in this game. Man, that's gonna be. They got some high hopes now. They shut out Soxie last week after coming off that loss to Scotland, and you and I know both well know it's hard to win inside them white walls on Friday night. But Wilson's gonna have their work cut out for him. That new fresh head coach they got. He's going to see what the white walls is if he ain't seen it yet. But I look for Dillon to have a shutout this game. I don't even look for him to give up no points.
Hey, you're doing a little bit better than me. Like I said, I think Wilson will score. I look for the game to be 7-7. If you're just looking at scores on Facebook or something, some people are going to be surprised. But then I think you flip it back over there and then you see 27-7 or 34-7. But I don't think Wilson puts up much of a fight after the first couple of series. I think Dillon, they like sharks. They're going to taste the blood. There's blood in the water. I really think they're getting ready to run through the rest of their non-region play.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, but we'll move over about 15 miles from Dillon's campus and we'll slide on over to Hartsfield. Hartsfield will host the Camden Bulldogs. We'll let you take it first on that one.
Man, Camden's mean, they got high expectations this year. I think they're 2-0. I see some of the edits they're making on YouTube and posting on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. You know, they're living it up down there in Camden, man. And Hartsville's, you know, they kind of had to tuck their tail last week on the way back from Carolina Forest, man. This is gonna be a game that they're gonna have to man up. I think Camden, man. I want to say Hartsville, but I really think Camden's gonna be a tough game for them. It's hard to underestimate Hartsville, especially at home. They're at home, David.
Yep, Hartsville's at home.
I'm going to say I think Camden pulls this one out late in the fourth quarter, man. I think it's going to be a 24-20, 27-20 type of game.
Not a basketball prediction. Well, you know, I was younger, we used to go to all these Bulldogs games, but I don't think I've ever seen Marlboro beat Hartsville in Kellytown. Last time I've been there, Marlboro and Hartsville did get to fight about toward the field goal net down. That was a wild one to see. But it's hard to win in Kellytown. I ain't never seen a Bulldog bite a Fox, but I know Foxes can hold their own, so give me Hartsville to come out with a win. It's hard to beat them and the referees in Kellytown.
So you don't think they're going to let Hartsville lose 2 in a row?
Nah, I don't. I don't see the white hat letting that one. I don't see the white hat letting that one get out of hand unless you stop and get him a shoeless steak before you pulling that rest out that field.
I wouldn't. I mean, I can see Hartsville winning this game, but right now I just think Camden's kind of on a roll, man. They're feeling themselves and they're playing well, and I think that's going to take maybe some turnovers or something like that, or something, you know, out of the ordinary for Hartsville to win this game. I think they keep it close, much closer than last week. But I think that Camden kind of pulls it out in the end, man. They got it going right now.
Yeah, I think both. It's gonna be an offensive game. Who can score the most points here? I mean, Hartsville put up like 35 points last week, and I think Camden put up like 28 or 29. And it's like I'm saying, we were talking about Carolina Forest last week, 50. If you can put up 55 like they did, the odds of you losing are very slim. But I like Hartsville on this one, man. There's some past time, and I know some guys that play baseball on that team. Quarterback and forward Wallace, I know they always got key guys on the outside. You can split the two and they can go. And you know both teams are gonna have some running backs. Camden fell short last year in the championship, but I see what you're saying about Camden. They got to get back. They tasted that state championship last year. They played for it, and I see Hartsville pulling this one out and moving on. But we'll move on to the next one. Matt B will host Ladder. I'll take this one in first. Matt B 0-2 will host Ladder. Ladder's 2-0. Ladder scored 50 points last week, and I think like 30 points a week before. I look for Ladder to win this game by 20. Matt B's young, having to play some young guys up because they had a big graduating class last year. Quarterback for Matt B is pretty good, but you know, one player can't get it done. You got to have a few guys to step up and play. But I can't help out Josh on this one. But give me Ladder plus 20.
Yeah, I was thinking Ladder's offense has been playing really well. Just listening to you about Matt B in the past couple of weeks, I think they're, like you said, they're very young. They're maybe got their heads held down right now. You know, and take some early losses, especially the way they've been losing. You know, it can hurt a young team. And like I said, I think Ladder wins this game pretty handily. I'm not gonna say 20 points, but I don't think it's ever in doubt.
Yeah. So we both in agreement on Ladder there. I'll put that down for us both. With Ladder. Next, I'll let you take this one first while I write. Chesterfield will host Lee Central. Both teams 1-1.
Both teams 1-1. Man, I have zero knowledge of anything Lee Central.
Same.
So I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I'm gonna take the Rams this week. You know, where's this game at?
This game is in Chesterfield at the Battlegrounds. Is what they call
Chesterfield. Let's go with Nick Dixon. That he's gonna be over 500 this week. He's gonna pull out a win. I'm gonna say 13-7 over Lee Central.
13-7. 13-7. Okay. I listen to Chesterfield's games on the radio. I can see what you're saying there. Coach Dixon's doing good with the team and good with the community. I really don't know a lot about Lee Central either, but I know the only Ram or GOAT I like is LeBron because he's the GOAT. I'll take Lee Central. Let's shake up the viewers, give everybody a different thing, so we ain't picking the same. So give Lee Central go in there and get their second win. I think Chesterfield did beat them last year, or I can't really sure, but I know Lee Central's gonna have some athletes. Small school, they dropped down to 1A, but I know they're gonna have some athletes. So I'll take Lee Central on that one. But next we'll have, I'll say pretty good. This is probably gonna be a good game right here. Central will host Lamar. I think that's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I've talked to some people and they think that Central's gonna be pretty good this year. It's gonna get better as it goes on, as the season goes on, man. But man, Lamar's always tough. They always got talent. You probably look back in 10 years and say, dang, that guy played in the NFL, he played for Lamar. They always got a guy like that that's going to sneak up on you, man. And I'm rolling with Lamar this week.
Oh, Lamar Silver Foxes. I know Lamar's always got athletes. I think this year's a coach, they got a new coach, and Tyler Boyd. It's his first year there, too. I'm leaning towards Central on this. Central gonna have a fresh week. They had a bye last week. I know kind of odd for a second week like Gray, but I know Central's got a good dual threat quarterback that can get it done with his feet and with his arms. I know Central's got a good offensive line. Got some key playmakers on the outside, but I ain't really too sure about their defense. I know they had some guys last year when I seen them play, but I'll take Central. I'll take Central this one over this. Maybe by 10 at home. But we'll get into the next one. Darlington will be 2-0 at Lugoff Elgin. I think Lugoff Elgin, are they 2-0 or they 1-0?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think did Camden beat them last week?
I think Camden beat them. And I think Lugoff Elgin won one before. So I believe, they are 1-1 here. My bad. I'm reading it wrong. They were 1-1. Man, I just don't see Darlington, from the points I've seen Lugoff Elgin put up, if they can do that at their home turf tomorrow night. They're trying to copy the podcast, but I like Lugoff Elgin, the Demons in this one.
Yeah, they're a bigger school. They're probably gonna be tough. Like I said, I have zero knowledge of Lugoff Elgin, so man, like you said, I think I'm gonna go with you on this one. I'm gonna take Lugoff as well.
Yeah, not a bad pick. I do know Darlington has some athletes. I don't see Darlington, even if they are losing, I don't see those guys that lay down and just take it. I like for those guys to battle. They got some athletes down there. You can't never count on the Falcons down there. They got their head coaches, their second year in there. Like I said, I don't look for those guys to lay down and just walk in there. But I look for those guys to go in there and compete, and it'd be probably a close game. But I'll leave you to this one. We'll take both. But moving over toward the Marion area, West Florence will be at Marion. I'll let you fill in on this one first.
Man, I think West Florence gets their first victory of the season this week. I think Marion's a little down, coming off a pretty good year last year. But I think West Florence probably thought they had a shot to win that game last week. 42-38, Myrtle Beach. And I think they just got a bad taste in their mouth. I think West Florence wins this game. Probably pretty handily. I think they try to run it up a little bit, get some confidence built up in their players and stuff. So I look for West Florence to win this game pretty easily. Yeah,
I'm with you. Both teams 0-2, coming off losses last week. But I'm with you. I like Chad Wilkes and the Knights to go down there and get their first victory at Marion. They can be going from turf to grass. I don't think that really matters, but it don't. But I look for them to get their first win. I know Marion, like you said, Marion had a good year last year and the year before. They graduated a lot. They got one of their guys that's playing at App State now. They got one of their Quashie Scott, wide receiver playing in Kentucky. I don't know if he's getting any action yet, but he was a good player for them a few years ago. But I like the Knights in this one, probably more than 20 if I had to put money on it. We'll go over to the next one. We'll cross over North Carolina. Scotland versus Ashley. Ashley's 0-2 and Scotland's 1-1.
Man, I'm going with Scotland. Then here again, I have zero knowledge of Ashley. I don't even know what part of the state that's in. If I had to guess, I'd say up there around Raleigh probably.
Correct.
But I'm going to Scots. You know, they do have a good team. They're pretty young as well. I think Scotland just ran into a buzzsaw last week in Richmond County, up at Richmond County. But I think Scotland pulls this game out. You know, I think it, like I said, it may be tight early. But I think Scotland in the second half, they probably win by 2 scores, 10 to 14 points. I'm rolling with the Scots this week.
Yeah, I like Scots in this one too. I hope Coach Bailey and company can get it done at home for the home crowd. That ain't too far from our headquarters, but yeah, I like Scotland in this one by about 17. But we'll move into our last one in North Carolina that we covering this week. It'll be Richmond at Roseville, but I'll take this one over first. Richmond 1-1 and Roseville 0-2, but I looked at Roseville's schedule and they have played 2 big schools, 2 5A schools that I believe one of them was Mallard Creek they lost to last week. Could be wrong. But you know, Roseville was the team that put Richmond out last year in the 5th round. Is what I seen in it, and it was a bad score. I mean, like 40-something to 6, if I'm right. So I look for Richmond to try to do some damage in this game, and if they can put up 40 or 50 points, I don't see that their coach saying, "No, we're gonna lay off a little bit." I see them throwing it around the field and seeing what they can do with their offense. I like Richmond and them by 14.
Yeah, I think Richmond, like you said, they got a dirty, bad taste in their mouth from that playoff game last year. I think they come out and try to make a statement. I really think that they think they have a team to compete for a state championship this year. Like I said, the loss they did have, I seen with the coach, he said put that on his shoulders. I think you earn a lot of respect from the players and stuff like that. I think that I think Richmond rolls pretty good in this game and up in some eyes around the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, man. I look for Richmond to go pretty far this year from some of the players they got and the new coaches and new faces they got. But guys, we get into our big game of the week, a top 100 matchup in the country. Yes, I said it, in the country. South Florence is coming in this game number 93, ranked number 93 in the country, and I think Northwestern's number 65. But that'll be our game of the week. Both teams top 100. Both teams got good coaches and good talent all around the field. So why not? Why can't that be our game of the week? So our game of the week will be in Florence at South Florence. What's your thoughts?
Man, I look for this to be a really highly competitive matchup, man. South Florence is riding high. They went for that 2-point conversion last week, and pretty much I don't want to call it an upset because South Florence was a really good team, but like I said, you're going on the road to Somerville, and anytime you come out with a win, you know, that opens some eyes up. But I think this is a different animal this week, man, the Northwestern team than Somerville. And I think if South Florence is going to rely on a late score to win the game, I just don't think that's going to happen this week, man. As much as it pains me to say it, man, I'm a PD guy. I got to go with the Trojans here.
Yeah, I see where you're going there. Speaking of the Trojans, Northwestern, they do got that 5-star guy, Tamarion Watkins, committed to Texas A&M. So I know he's probably gonna play both ways, as I would say. And I don't know if he plays safety at their school or if he's just an athlete and plays quarterback too. I haven't looked too far into it, but like you said, I think if you wait too late, it is gonna be too late. And you're gonna be thinking about what I could have shown or what I should have done or could have, would have, or what I should have used the time out there. But man, I don't know what Northwestern's offense got, but I try to stay local, and I'll take South Florence in this one. That's because they at home. I might be wrong. I could be wrong, but I'll take South Florence in this one, and I'll let you cover the Clemson and Troy game.
Man, I look for this gonna be short and quick. I got somewhere to be. I got to bounce up off here, but I really don't think this is much of a contest. I know Clemson's a little pissed off about that game last week. I think they felt like they left a bunch of stuff, a bunch of points on the field. I think that Clay Cullen probably plays like the Heisman contender this week that people thought he was coming into the season. You know, and I really look for this to be a really non-competitive game. Clemson wins big, probably 30 points. I look for a 41-7 type of game, man. I really think Clemson rolls here. You know, get some people back on the Tiger bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm with you. Only the win I see Troy's them getting paid for coming to Clemson and get beat by 35 points. That's about the only thing I had to say to it. But we'll move over to the South Carolina State game. I like Lenore's and company win by 30 this game. I look for Lenore to get more of the passing game going and not have to rely on him being Superman. I look for the defense to come out and get some stops early on and really put that on the bed and hopefully get the starters out of there by third quarter and see what they can do from next week when at Vanderbilt.
I kind of like what you're saying about getting the passing game going. I really think the passing game, I just think we need to get more people involved, not just Nick Harvard. But, man, I'm almost the opposite of you. I think we try to come out and establish a running game. I don't think we ran the ball that great. I think we had some explosive plays last week, being South Carolina, but I think they try to establish a running game early, man. I think they want to get 3 or 4 different guys involved in the game this week, you know, just to see where they stand at. But I would not be surprised at all if Lenore's threw for under 200 yards, but South Carolina rushed for about 250 as a team this week.
Yeah, I can see where you're going there. We'll end that college showdown. We'll cover mine and your favorite team, Cowboys. What you think? Cowboys and Eagles tonight. Falcons. We got the Bucks this week. So, what you picks for our two NFL games?
Man, to be honest with you, it's the world against the Cowboys tonight. They traded Michael Parsons. Everybody thinks there's no way in the world the Cowboys can win, but this is exactly the type of game that Dallas always surprises everybody and will somehow pull a win out, and then they'll lose to the Cardinals or somebody next week. But you know, I'm not betting Cowboys, but I would not be one bit surprised with the offense that they got if they somehow won this game in a shootout, 31-27 or something like that. I think everybody's looking for an Eagle blowout, but I think opposite. I think Dak Prescott, he missed the last about 9 games last year, but he's got plenty of toys to play with out there. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson at tight end. That Jaden Blue they just drafted from Texas, I think he's gonna be dynamic out of the backfield. He might not start with a third down back. He's gonna be really dangerous. I'm gonna take the Eagles to win. I think the Eagles win if I'm betting 100% with my head. But something in my heart tells me this game's gonna be a lot closer than most of the experts think.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Eagles in this. They raising their banner tonight from the Super Bowl from last year. Plus, I got Jalen Hurts in my fantasy league. But I see what you're saying about the Cowboys and Eagles. I know it's always a rival, just like with them and the Redskins. They can go 0-16, but you look, they gonna beat the Redskins or opposite. But I like the Eagles in this one. I think the Eagles is at home. I think the Eagles win by 10 plus, but that's my take on that.
I think all the hoopla around the Super Bowl banner and the rings is exactly why that Dallas can sneak up on tonight. I think everybody's head and is going to be on something else. They're going to be out there for a celebration, and I think Dallas is going to be out there to prove a point or make a statement. But like I said, I'm taking the Eagles to win, but I just think it's going to be a lot closer than everybody thinks.
Yep, and they don't got Jason Kelce to do the tush push this year. Maybe a new tush pusher. But so the Cowboys lose this game. Is the Falcons America's team now?
No, definitely not.
Well, I like the Falcons over the Bucks this week. I look for them to get Michael Pickens going early, QB, maybe some QB runs, and I hope they can get Kyle Pitts tight end, get him some catches early on, and Darnell Mooney and Drake London to have a big game. But the Bucks got Baker Mayfield, and Mike Evans has got like 11 straight years with 1,000 receiving yards. But I'm gonna take the Falcons in this one. I think we're at home. I ain't even looked at it, but I think we're at home. But I'll take the Falcons in one.
Yeah, I think that this game will be won or lost on your defense. I think your offense can keep up with anybody. But I'm more worried about your defense. They do need to get Kyle Pitts involved, like you said, because people are already trying to label him as a bust or just not a good fit for your offense. but he's a dynamic player, man, that you really need to get involved in the game. So, like I said, I think your offense can score points, man, but Baker's playing as one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league, you know, over about the last half of last year. And if he comes out and plays that well tonight with Mike Evans and Bucky Irvin and some of those guys, they got some playmakers over there as well, man. Like I said, I really think if your defense plays halfway decent, the Falcons can pull this game out. But that division's tricky, man. Nobody ever wins the division 2 years in a row. I think maybe Tampa Bay might have done that this past year for the first time, and who knows when. Yeah, give me the Falcons tonight. I'll take the Falcons 24-17.
I'm glad you listened, man. But guys, we're going to cut this one short. We'll be back on Monday night, probably around 7 or 7:30. To get into the recap of the weekend. If you have, we have got a Facebook page, Home Turf Sports Podcast. It's on Facebook. Go like and follow the page. Thank you guys for supporting and always viewing the thing, and just keep subscribing to the YouTube channel. I'm Devin, he's Brian, and we'll see you guys next time.